interesting book.
Good.
Mhm. And I
Okay,
like
Okay, so we were not recording prior to this, right?
Correct.
no.
Is that okay? Yeah, no, we just started the recording. It always gives that
Yeah, that disclaimer,
heads up.
that's a good thing. Yep.
just in
Hello,
case you want
Donna.
to kind of go to witness protection.
Fair enough.
So we're talking about books that we've read recently. I somehow feel like a slouch because I just read for fun because I do so much reading academically with all the journals and other academic reading. So my favorite are female protagonists in crime mysteries. So I had read Sue Grafton from A to Y and was brokenhearted because I'm also kind of anal about things and I really wanted to Z, but she passed away before she finished her last book.
Oh, no.
So yeah, Y, and I'm like, I finished Y and I was so looking forward to it, and then across the internet it came that she had passed, and it was like, no, I need Z.
What was her name, Karen?
Sue Grafton.
Sue Grafton.
Yeah, she did A is for alibi, B is for, and so she did all the way up to, and then she got to Y and just didn't get to Z. Also read Janet Ivanovich. Again, just kind of
That's
looking
funny.
at those. It's an escape for me. It gives me that break from what I really have to kind of concentrate on, and all the other times this is just kind of a fun little journey for me. So
I like Ken Follett, just like all the world wars, just
Mhm.
like he had that, and then just before, just like the time of in England, just like around 600, 900, 1100, how
Mhm.
England came out. Yeah, I like that. And Wilbur Smith
Mhm.
from Africa till there's the rough stuff. I read
Mhm.
it all. Yeah, yes. I like to read.
How about others? Favorite book or a book you've read recently? Like
Mm.
to share with us? Paula, you
Oh.
posed the question. Let me kind of pick for you. What's been
Oh,
one of your favorite reads?
that's an easy question. Thank you for asking me. I thought maybe other people. I've been kind of have a lot of readings, but the most recent one you all have heard about. It's called The Book of Joy, and if you can see it, it's His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. And if there are two things, and you heard some of this from me before, His Holiness says the ultimate source of happiness is within us. And Desmond Tutu adds to that. He says, we grow in kindness when our kindness is tested. It's a great book to read. I'm promoting this book. It's a great book to read if you have a few hours here and there, or you can read it while you're doing running for the marathon practice that I did. In fact, I ended up listening to this book twice. Great book.
Good book on tape while you're running, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And for those of you, just go to your library, sign into Hoopla, or now they have Hoopla Plus, and guess what? My favorite four-letter word, it's free.
Yeah.
Very good. How about others? Donna, do you have a favorite?
I haven't read a book lately, but I like crime novels and I love espionage.
Good. Good for you. Thank you. Let's see. How about Bob? Any books lately that you've read?
Nope.
Okay. Susan, did you have a book?
I usually like to read books. They have to involve a family or a person. I have to know someone's story. I think that's why I enjoyed my practice as much as I did, is I just got to watch people grow up. And one of the books I really like, and they were about a bunch of sisters, called Before We Were Yours. These are children that ended up being adopted, but kind of just sort of their story that happened before then, and then what happened after they grew up. It was really,
Okay.
really a touching story.
Nice. Not a story, but a really good friend who passed away. We're coming up on her year. We would go out and we'd be out in public doing different kinds of things, and she always used to like making up stories about people that we would be watching. So if we were in a restaurant or if we were out at events or everything, you know, she could do the whole backstory, where they're from, why the, you know, those two are brothers and they don't get along, and what the issues. And it's just this amazing thing when people talk about just stories of families and everything. But she just had this wonderful creative mind that could spin all of these tales as we were out talking with different people. But she too was fascinated by just, you know, the family and the connectivity and those kinds of things. It made it very interesting.
So Karen, was she ever disappointed when the story wasn't exactly as she'd thought it was going to be?
Oh, these are people, we never met them. We just talked
Oh, we
about
never
them.
met.
We just kind of made up.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes it even better.
We just had fun with, you know, and, oh yeah, and there's, you know. So we just kind of had some fun with it, with different kinds of things.
How is it going with the rooms for Kalamazoo? Because now with everything that's going on, I'm just kind of type just like wait and see, and just like don't go overboard yet. Just like, but maybe just like it should be kind of handy if you start thinking about just like maybe you can do something hybrid if really everything just start running out of hands, or just or maybe for the Canadians that if we are still allowed to travel here, that we, and I know it's not a nice to Bala, but that we can have an just like the pets, just like either in Toronto or in a district in Sarnia. I don't know if that's something feasible to think about, you know, just like that we still have the in-person thing. And just like, but it's just only a thought, you know, because I know it's possible, because I one time had a president, he did his pets in Toronto for a day, you know, so that's because everything was in one day stuck together. So but just like that, people are not really just like sit now and just like get a headache about what are we gonna do, what is gonna offered, and are we gonna go all on Zoom or just like
well, let me just kind of talk about that for just a minute, because the Pets Organizing Committee did meet this week.
Okay.
And, you know, we're exploring what our options could be, but it's too soon to decide what we want to change. But in that being prepared for whatever might be thrown at us in the months that lie ahead, we have been talking about some options on what we want to do. Right now, registration is moving forward. 18 president-elects from 6380 are registered. A number of district governors as well. I think our district registrations are about at 28 at this point.
Oh yeah, by the way, I was not on the list from AGs that was registered. Case did both, you know, just like, but he is in the list and I'm not, so doesn't matter, but I'm paid.
What list?
The
Oh,
list
okay.
to
I'm
get to
sorry. Yeah.
Kalamazoo. Yeah,
I may have just pulled first names. I'm sorry. The registration lists come out, and the second person is way down the Excel file. So I may have only pulled the first columns of names as opposed to going down the list. So that would be my fault, and I would apologize.
Yeah.
And it's just the way you look at the spreadsheet. It's about yay long, and whoever registered first, and then the guest is way far down the list. So.
Karen, if I may, why don't we take the registration of the pets, etc., after we are done with this session, at the end of this session, so that way we can give more people a chance to talk about what books they have read before we start the session.
Actually, we have about 2 minutes. We wanted to get ready for Drew.
Yeah.
So we are moving forward.
Excellent.
And kind of wrapping that up. So if you have a topic you'd like to do our warm-up session with, the 6 to 6:30 session for next time we're together, which isn't until after the new year, just drop me or Bala a note and say, hey, how about if we talk about this as we warm up for that next session, so that we can put that kind of to the top of the list for people to take a look at. So, excuse me.
All the New Year's wishes.
I'm sorry?
All the New Year's wishes.
All the new, yep. Yeah, when we started this year, I was like hoping for, normal. And
Normalcy, yeah.
so, so that's my New Year's wish again is, so that we come to normal, whatever it might be, but something other than what we've been living with.
But stay
Yeah.
positive.
Yep. So we're looking for normal, something a little bit different than what we have. Excuse me, and I'm just drinking iced tea.
It's the sugar that hangs there probably.
Yeah, if I had a little whiskey and I probably wouldn't have this puff.
Yeah, the eliminates the sugar.
That's the problem. Well, just wanted to kind of bring everyone together and say welcome. We do have about 2 minutes where people will still be joining us, but we do appreciate your time on the call tonight. I know tonight, especially looking at this date in December, is very busy for so many people. There are some clubs with their annual holiday gathering, lots of other things going on. I know a lot of corporate and business and nonprofits are holding theirs as well. So as we do come together, we do appreciate your time dedicated to training and getting ready for your year as club president. People have said, and I think you've heard it quite a few times, it is the best journey you're going to be on. This is going to be a phenomenal year for you. And your fellow president-elects are your class of presidents. And meetings like this give you an opportunity to meet each other, but also to get to know each other, to share ideas, and to really begin to rely on each other as your classmates. These are people who are going to be walking the journey with you and who you can turn to say, hey, this is going on. What do you think and what's happening? So part of the PETS orientation that we're doing right now is giving you that opportunity to get to know each other, as well as get some really sound ideas. Tonight's topic is going to be on leading your club. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our district governor-elect, Bala, and he's going to kick off the meeting and start our introductions.
Greetings and good evening to all our amazing presidents-elects and the AGs from District 6380. And we have our super Rotary International Director-elect, Drew Kessler, and I'll be introducing him in a minute. But before we get to that, I want to continue with our discussions we started off last week about the Good to Great 6380 Super Lounge and the greatest walktail we made last week, which was the joy of service and giving. And that also, I think, resonates what we are all about and what Rotary is all about. If we take one part of happiness, one part of love, one part of compassion, and one part of peace, shake it all together. And while we're shaking, we shake it with fun, enthusiasm, motivation, and excellence. That's what leads to world's greatest cocktail or walktail, we call it on Zoom, joy of service and giving. So let's continue on the joy. And with that, it gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce our youngest Rotary International Director, Drew Kessler. Drew will serve our zones 28 and 32 for 2022-24. And his leadership will coincide with all the president-elects taking their office. As you all know, Rotary Zone 28 and 32 includes all of northern part, I would say, of US in New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and portions of Michigan and Washington State, virtually all of Canada, as well as Bermuda and the French islands of St. Pierre and Miquelon. Drew is a member of the North Rockland, New York Rotary Club. And more than just introducing Drew, I also want to share with you something that is of great interest and will continue to interest all of us. And that is Drew's son, Jackson, who also happens to be my grandson, Jackson. And he is 9 years old, and they have been to a number of events. Recently, one such event was the concept of Early Act. Many of you may have heard of that, which is basically a Rotary Club for elementary school. Last school year, without any coaxing, Jackson approached the school principal with the idea of having such a club in his school. Not only did he bring it to her attention, he continued to follow up on the idea and re-engage her at the start of the school year. Drew could not be more proud that this letter, and there's a letter out there, went home to every 4th, 5th, and 6th graders last week. And the club will be having their first meeting on December 21st. Jackson, just like his dad Drew and mom Vicky, wants to give back to his community and do it under the umbrella of Rotary. So you can see not only Drew is going to be a great RI director, but he's already nurturing, mentoring, coaching, motivating younger Early Act like Jackson, and Rotary, I think, has its best future. With that, please join me in welcoming a great D63 warm virtual hugs to Drew Kessler.
Good evening, everybody. And Bala, thank you very much for that introduction. Yeah, the Jackson story is top of mind for me, as both Vicky and I, my wife, are extremely excited for all that's to come for him and his classmates. It's something that we're very, very proud of. If it's okay with the group, my thought, and I reached out to Bala earlier today, to keep this very informal. It's a small group. What I'd like to do, maybe I'll share some words for 5 minutes or so, kind of give you some high level concepts or thoughts. And then kind of open it up. Maybe Val and I can have a brief conversation, and then we open it up to you to hear maybe some questions or thoughts that you may have. Nothing is forbidden. You feel free to ask anything that you could possibly think of that's related to Rotary or to leadership or what have you. To give you a little bit of background, I've been in this great organization for 20 years. I became a Rotarian at the age of 20. My wife and I have 5 children, so we keep very busy. I work full time. So from the concept of juggling, I think I get it. And so far I've been relatively successful in being able to manage the Rotary world, the family world, as well as having a full-time job. So with that, I sit before you, and I think I have the pleasure and privilege of coming out to Kalamazoo in a couple months to greet you guys in person, as I believe I will be at your PETS. And I every chance I get when I'm in front of a president-elect or even an AG is just to tell you how envious I am of you and the position you're in. I had the opportunity to serve as a president. Now it's many years ago. It's about 15 years ago in 2006-07. And it was such an amazing experience because I was, number one, able to see Rotary on a completely different level and perspective than I ever saw it before as a club member and not really getting out of my clubs. And if you will, the power that you have, that you're leading such an amazing organization in your community, and it's things that you could bring forward that can forever change your club. It could forever change how Rotary is conducted in your backyard, which I from my perspective, is a very, very powerful thing as we try to move this organization forward. I would like to thank everybody who's on this call, believes wholeheartedly in what we do and who we are, and wants to make sure that we're here in the future, that we're here for my son Jackson and for his son and their kids. It would be an absolute shame to take an organization that's been around for such a long period of time, has committed such great work to the world, and unfortunately have it kind of go by the wayside. So with that, what I really want to share with you is kind of bringing forward a concept that I don't think it's going to surprise anybody, but I think it needs to be said. And I think it's something that we all need to focus on. And as president-elect, as an assistant governor, I think really it falls on your shoulders that you make sure that it's top of mind. While we might not want to always admit it, but at the end of the day, we're selling an opportunity, right? People have very, very little resources when it comes to, time. Right? Time is the one thing that's fleeting. No matter who you are, what you are, how much money you have, doesn't make any difference. We all have the same amount of time. And we're very much bidding for people's time when they ask them to join our organization. We ask them to give up their time when they're within our organization. And very often we ask them to choose between our organization and something else they might have going on in their life. So with that, we're selling a product. And for me, it really comes down to the experience they have within the club that they're in, right? When we talk about attracting members or retaining members, for me, it all comes down to the club experience. If a Rotarian or yourself is not having a positive experience, what's the likelihood that you stay within the organization? What's the likelihood that you ask somebody else to be part of this organization, right? So when we bring in, and we do a really actually a tremendous job of attraction. If you look at our numbers, even in North America, which unfortunately membership, and it's at the top of everyone's mind, has been waning a little bit over the past however many years, 20, 30 years. We keep bringing members in. We just don't do the best job of keeping members. And I will tell you, I think far too often that has to do with the experience that they have. When they come through our doors, that we're not engaging them. We're not providing them what they're looking for. And if it's a short period of time in which they come and experience our organization and don't get what they're looking for, they're now going back into the community and unfortunately sharing a negative message. And I think we all can agree when it comes to any type of product, when a negative message goes out there, it doesn't just go to one or two, it unfortunately spreads like wildfire. Where somebody has a positive experience, that might only go to one or two people, but that doesn't have the same ripple effect, if you will. So I think as it relates to President-elects, it's really incumbent upon you to make sure that your club is providing the experience, number one, that your members are looking for. I'm a very, very big advocate in surveying your club, putting a poll out there, making sure that everybody is getting what they're looking for. Now, I fully understand we're never going to be able to accommodate everybody and everything, but there are key benchmarks that I'd like to think we can provide to people. And the other piece to that, and this is the secret in which I wish you tell everybody in Rotary, that when it comes down to it, when we talk about our membership, the end of the day, the core thing I believe, and this is, I could speak for myself and maybe I could speak for some of those on the meeting tonight, is that people want to feel welcome and wanted. If they have the feeling of being welcome and valued and wanted, they're more likely to participate. They're more likely to be engaged. And I'll share just a really quick story with you. My own home club, as Bala mentioned, is North Rockland Rotary. Again, been member for a long, long time. About 8 years ago, actually the year I served as district governor, we actually moved our house. We moved about 40 minutes to the north for me to get closer to my office at the time. And rather than changing Rotary clubs, I very much, love my Rotary club, and I didn't want to change. So, however, the past 8 years, I can't tell you I get to my club as often as I'd like to. With that being said, when it comes to Rotary meetings and Rotary work, I'd like to think I check the box and that I spend countless hours in the name of this organization. But getting to my own meeting doesn't happen on a regular basis. When they need me, I'm there. When it's a project or a fundraiser, I'm there. But the routine meeting, you're not going to see me on a Thursday afternoon on a pretty regular basis. And my birthday happens to be in January. And I received a phone call from a member that I can't tell you I had a very close relationship with. Her partner I have a very close relationship with, but Judy is a newer member. Know of her, we consider ourselves acquaintances, but it's not somebody I'd consider somebody I've been, shoulder to shoulder with for 20 years. And Judy said, "Hey, Drew, your birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks. I'd like to make you a cake." She said, "Any cake you want, I will make it for you, as long as you come to the club." And I took a step back, and here it is. I mean, I get asked to speak, if you will, all over the world, right? When it comes to Rotary, I very much should feel welcome and wanted, because people are always asking me to participate in their events. But it was my own home club that Judy reached out, and something so simplistic as making me a birthday cake, which who makes someone a birthday cake? Like it hit me, right? And I said, "Judy, of course I'll be there. You tell me when and I'll show up." And I did just that. And I went to probably the first meeting I went to in months. And that spurred me going to another meeting 2 weeks later. And it was just such a simple act, but I got that feeling. I got the feeling that somebody wants me there, and I felt very welcome. And I share that with you because I'm not saying that you need to start a birthday cake campaign, but it's just the basic concept. And I know many clubs have done this before. When you don't see a member for a couple of weeks, somebody picks up the phone You know, these are very, very basic things, but unfortunately we all just get too busy, and sometimes we forget and we don't follow up on the ones that might not be there. And I'm asking you, and like I said, I wish you share the secret with everybody. If all of our members can feel welcome and wanted, I can guarantee you, I assure you, we will never again have a membership issue. Because if everybody has that feeling, they're going to be looking to show up every week. They're going to be looking to bring in their partners and their colleagues and their friends, because it's a feeling inside that they have. So with that, I hopefully invite Bala back so we can have a conversation. I just want everyone to know that you have such an amazing opportunity. If this is your first time serving as president, I tell you that the best resource you have are the members in your club, that it's not a position of one, it's a position of an entire club, that you should really be looking towards your fellow members to help, carry you and the club through the entire year. You have the opportunity to stand in front and lead the organization, but it's truly the members that make up, your club and all the success that you're going to have.
What a great inspiration and leadership directions you have provided, Drew. I have a couple of follow-up, but before we get to that, I want to introduce what is called as a J&J. Many of you may be thinking, what's J&J? It's not the vaccine. J&J in this case is called Jackson and Jackson. It'll be Drew's Jackson and my Jackson, my son's son Jackson. And I think in about 15 years or so, I think we'll have Drew's Jackson be a great Rotarian, and my grandson Jackson may be a Rotaractor or maybe an Interactor. And so we will be very confident and we'll be so excited that J&J will lead us forward. That's number one. Number two, Drew, we have a great training team here who developed the training strategy and rolled out the training map. And that consists of past District Governor Karen Gabrys, Cindy Hill, AG, and as well as Roma Murthy, who is the district membership chair. And she'll be leading the discussion membership in our virtual session number 4, which is on January the 12th. January 5th, we are bringing in Trustee Dean Rhodes to talk about the Rotary Foundation. And you're
getting all the heavy hitters, huh?
We are getting the best of the best, and
That's
we are
right.
seeing one of them
Good for
today.
you.
So as you take us to greater heights in our zone, what are your top 3 priorities for us?
Well, I think I shared the first one already, and that's club experience, because I will always come back to it. It all comes back to that. It doesn't matter, what else we have. If we don't provide the right experience to our members, everything else, unfortunately, falls by the wayside. So hands down, number 1 is club experience. The second one, I think we've done a better job at over the past 20 years, but we're trying to make up for 100 years that we didn't do the greatest job, and that's brand awareness. I think it really is incumbent upon all of us as Rotarians to make sure everybody in our community know what we are and who we are. Our club should represent the communities in which we serve, and our community should be very much aware of what the wheel looks like, what the wheel is, and what Rotary does. For the first 100 years, and I say, unfortunately, we missed the mark, is that we did things in the shadows. We had a very altruistic perspective, which is phenomenal, but it doesn't help you when it comes to recognition and trying to gain brand awareness. If I put up, the golden arches or the swoosh, instantly exactly what I'm referring to. But far too often when we see the wheel on the side of the road, we know what it is, but do our friends and our family know what it is? And I think that is something that we need to find every possibility that we can, whether it's in our local media outlets, in the projects that we do, everything that we put out in the community, I would hope to think, whether it has a sticker or something in it that signifies it came from us. Because if we're ever going to truly grow, I think people need to understand what we are. And if you ever have the opportunity to travel throughout the world, you go to other countries, the wheel is everywhere, right? And Rotary has a presence in North America. Unfortunately, I don't believe we have that same presence. And the last thing, if we're looking at 3, priorities, it's that the zone exists. And just to everyone have a perspective of, the zones are in place as an additional resource, just like the districts are there for the clubs, the zones are there for the districts and the clubs and every Rotarian. That my hope is that in the coming year, we're going to have greater communication with every member of our Rotary clubs, all 65 to 70,000 of them. We're having 2 events based on UN sustainable goals. We're having symposiums. One is Life Below Water, which is a cruise from New York Harbor to Bermuda, and that's Labor Day weekend of this coming year in 2022. And we're having a symposium on Life on Land in Anchorage, Alaska in November. Both of those events more information can be found on zones 28 and 32's website. And the key here is they're open to every single Rotarian, every partner of every Rotarian. It could be a non-Rotarian. And here's the best part from my perspective. And I guess this is what happens when you have 5 children. There will be Camp Rotary. So the kids are not to be left behind. If you have an opportunity to bring a child or a grandchild, you'll have programming for them, and you will not have to choose between going to a Rotary event or being with your family, because I'd very much like you to bring them with. So the hope here is that for those who maybe have not been able to go to an international convention or have seen Rotary on a larger scale, that they'll be able to be part of something that has hundreds, maybe if everything goes right, 1,000 people that attend, in the name of Rotary, and really focus on things that are important. And that's obviously the climate change that's happening right now and the things we could do to help our environment. So those, I would say, are the 3 priorities for the coming year.
Thank you, Drew. So the first one he already talked about is membership and the experience and what we can do through surveys and other tools. Number 2 is branding and how non-Rotarians perceive Rotary so that we can come to be regarded just like the Apple icon, of course, Apple soars in its stock today again. So maybe Rotary also will continue to soar. And number 3 is the whole idea of zone and the great resources under Drew's leadership. And we will send you all the link to the great Bermuda and other excursions. It'll all be a family affair. So Drew, can you please share with us some of the innovations that's going around our zone and what we can adapt from that?
Well, and that's a great question, Val, and thank you for bringing up the concept of innovation, because we are at a pivotal time in our organization that we literally get to write the script of what our future is going to look like. Every president-elect right now, every club has the opportunity to rewrite what Rotary looks like. We, from a senior leadership perspective, we very much welcome new ideas and new concepts. And on that front, there are new concepts that are happening all the time in our own backyard, right? Throughout our footprint of North America. You have cause-based clubs that are now sprouting out. It can be based off of, and this comes from someone who's not too far from your neck of the woods, and that's Tom Gump. Came up with the concept of a cause-based club, and I think his first club was based on veterans. You have cause-based clubs that are now tied to the environment, or anything that might bring people together. It's an easy way to either transition an existing club, a traditional club, into something maybe a little bit different, or potentially start a satellite or a new club based on something specific. And it can be as easy as a service club, right? How many of our clubs want to find hands-on service projects, but kind of get caught in the check writing campaign? We could open up something to them where it becomes just service, and that's all they do, and they meet at service projects. The other thing that I think is happening more and more, and I hope everyone takes advantage, is the silver lining of just this, right? The silver lining of COVID, that Zoom is now just part of our vernacular. It's part of what we do on a day-to-day basis, that we can have meetings that have never been thought of before, right? We already understand the hybrid concept of potentially running a Zoom while we have a meeting. But we can take that a step further, and we could have 1 or 2 of our meetings on Zoom, and then we have 1 or 2 meetings in person. I mean, there's no rules, right? And that's the beauty of flexibility, is that as long as it's like-minded people getting together that believes in the ideals of what we do, right, in the 4-way test, and we're doing good for our community, that's what Rotary is. And if we could package it in a million different ways, it all comes down to what's going to be the most successful to really have our organization prosper. So while there are things that are going on, I implore everybody to think, and we talk about the box, right? Everyone's talking about, you think outside of the box. I ask everybody, think that there's no box there. Just vision it where there's no box, and that you have a blank slate to really create something special. So with that, I would say, from an innovative perspective, be open, right? And definitely try new things. Not everything will succeed, and that's quite okay. But we don't know what will work unless we try it.
Thank you, Drew, for enlightening us on the whole area of innovation. Now we're going to move over to a lot of our president-elects and AGs probably have some questions. But before we do that, I'd like to take a picture of all our amazing leaders with Drew. So if we can put it back on gallery mode, and we'll take a quick picture or two, please. Thank you. Now, we want everybody to give their best smile. If you want to take off your glasses and if you want to have your teeth whitened or whatever, come closer to those of you who are not on video, please turn on your video and give the best Rotary Zone 2832 smile. Okay, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me just roll the film and wash it, go to my dark room and make sure it has come out well. Almost. Give me one more smile, please. Okay. Ready, everybody? 1, 2, 2.5, big smile. Okay, thank you so much. With that, we're going to open up the questions. I'm sure you all have lots of questions. Roma, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just going to ask Drew, did you get your flavor of cake for your birthday?
Yeah, and listen, we're recording, so I won't use the words I want to use, but I'm a pain in the butt. So it couldn't just be as simplistic as I want, vanilla cake. I asked for chocolate cake, which isn't a big ask, but I said anytime I have chocolate cake, I have to have vanilla ice cream. So Judy not only made me chocolate cake, but she brought vanilla ice cream. So I very much got exactly what I was looking for.
Fabulous.
Any questions?
David Derbyshire has his hand up.
Yes, going back to the Zoom engagement strategy, I think we all have been getting invited to other clubs' activities and other clubs' presentations and outreach events and things of that nature. And it's almost getting to the point where it's getting to be a little bit of information overload coming in. How would you say you would manage the offers from other clubs to participate in their events and activities?
So David, thank you. That's such a great question because it also ties to the whole concept of Zoom fatigue. I would think I speak for most in that enough with Zoom already, right? I mean, how many of these meetings can we have? But at the end of the day, and this is really where it comes down to choice, is you shouldn't be doing anything that you're not going to have fun with. If you're invited to something and quite frankly, you don't want to go, you don't want to attend, you shouldn't, right? You should reserve the time. If you're going to carve out time for anything, my hope is you get the most you possibly can get out of it. So if that's what you're looking for and that's what your expectation is, and I hope you do your events in the same way, because just like people want to feel welcome and wanted, people want to have fun. So I'd like to think if you're being invited to things that are fun and that are engaging and inviting to you, you're going to want to go. It's the other things that maybe not so much. And I think you have to be selective. My wife has such a great line, and I think of it quite often because far too often I say yes, but it's the concept of when you say yes to something, you say no to something else.
So I want to kind of do a little bit of follow-up. So one of the things that we're going to do as a club in 2022 in our 100th celebration is we're planning on planting 100 trees on Earth Day. And I'm going to make an assumption that many of the other Rotary clubs are going to do something similar for Earth Day celebrations within their local region. And I guess my question is how can we as a bunch of individual clubs build awareness of what we're doing as a collective group, celebrating some of the Rotary's prime mission and or core mission, and build awareness to reach out to, let's say, news outlets and everything like that as a collective instead of as just individual.
Okay.
And,
we need to kind of wrap that up quickly, but go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, so to me, that's where an assistant governor or a district comes into play. that being able to have multiple clubs come together, whether it's from a media perspective or just simply to share an event, that's why these resources are here for you as a club and as a president, that you have assistant governors and districts to provide those resources to give you an opportunity for multiple things to happen at the same time.
Okay, I'd like to get in one more question, and Mahendra, you have your hand up. Good.
Yes, I'm a PE for Troy Rotary, and I like the idea of the survey because as leaders, we want to be good listeners, and survey is a great way to kind of find out what the membership is thinking. But can you talk a little bit about like what aspect of the Rotary experience should we really try to explore in a survey?
So from a survey perspective, you don't need to, if you will, reinvent the wheel. Rotary International offers amazing tools. They have a club assessment tool that if you go to rotary.org, you will have a club assessment, and there's another one, and I'm just unfortunately forgetting what it is. I'm sure somebody on this call can help me. But there's two different surveys that you have that'll run through kind of everything that would be poignant to ask, right? And from there, you can filter that information and then be a lot more direct as to what it is that the club's looking for. I think it's Keys is putting something up about enhancing the club experience, but there are tremendous resources out there that are already available for you. So I would suggest, I mean, you're more than welcome to try something new, but to start with, I would start there.
Thank you.
And Drew had mentioned too, just kind of touching base with the district team, your assistant governor definitely can begin to point you in the right direction. We have a great membership team as well, with Roma taking the lead on that can get you in touch with those kinds of resources that could really, and like you said, don't need to reinvent the wheel. We have lots of things out there for us. So kick it back to Bala for the wrap up.
Drew, I wish we could spend the entire evening with you, but I know you have other engagements, but we wanted to thank you for joining us and not only enlightening us, but sharing your thoughts on what President-elect's journey looks like, and also bringing in the zone perspective, as well as your thoughts on membership retention. But we're going to hear and meet in person, Drew, at the multi-district PETS in March at Kalamazoo. So be there or be square.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I look forward to meeting everybody in person in a couple short months, and just know, thank you for everything that you do. You know, it's unfortunately not said enough, but I am grateful for every one of our members, but specifically for the leaders, because without you, this organization does not exist. This organization does not move forward when you don't have people who are bringing us and moving us forward. So thank you very much. And everyone have a wonderful night and a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Take care.
Okay, I got this all. Thank you so much. I think that was a great message, Bala. I think you'd agree. Really great message coming from Drew for us to take a look at. So that was really nice. We wanted to move on with the agenda tonight and take a look at a couple of things. We're again talking about the idea of leading your club. And we're going to be looking at 2 breakout sessions tonight with some very specific topics for you to take a look at. But just wanted to give you a little bit of background and information about those topics as we begin to move forward, so that we can get a little bit of background and a little bit of understanding. So if we're set, Bala, ready to move on to that portion of the evening? All right. So we're really looking at, in this particular training, in this Zoom 2, as I kind of come to call it, was leading your club. And last week we talked about those 4 areas that were key in Rotary's strategic plan and moving us
Excuse
forward.
me, Karen. Karen, it's Roma again. You need to put it on slide mode again, please.
Am I not?
No, we're seeing 2
What are you
screens.
seeing?
I'm seeing your next slide as well.
I told it to look at screen 2. Is that not what you're seeing?
Now we are. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for I tell Romo, I don't see what I'm sharing, so it's hard for me to know what's going on, which I think is one of the weaknesses of Zoom. But anyway, last week we talked about increasing our impact, expanding our reach, enhancing participant engagement, and increasing our ability to adapt. And as we hear from our Rotary leaders from the zone level, you can hear a lot of those messages interwoven into kind of how we can move forward. So when we talk about the idea of leading Rotarians as club president, really and truly, your number one job is to look at how you engage members. How do you draw on individual members' skills and interests to keep them engaged? You know, Drew made the point that we do a great job recruiting Rotarians, but we really do a bad job of keeping them engaged with Rotary. And a lot of that is that we're not really motivating a person for what they're most interested in. And as club president, finding those things that make someone excited about being a Rotarian and help them achieve their goals, their ideas, and where they want to be. As club president, also the idea of delegating tasks to club members and to your leadership team. And sometimes we kind of laughed about it at the district level, but sometimes we always look at the banker in the room to be, or the accountant in the room to be club treasurer. When that person might want to explore putting on events, or might want to explore communications and strengthen their resume in some way. I know if I crunched numbers all day long, the last thing I'd want to do is crunch numbers when I got home at night for Rotary. So how do we delegate tasks to club members to make sure that we're meeting their interests and things that they'd like to do? Making sure that we meet with them regularly, check their progress on goals, and hold those who agree to do things accountable for getting things done. And also the idea of creating synergy. And when we look at it, help members understand how what we do connects to and helps us create momentum and produce even bigger results for us. And if you think about some of the ideas that we've been talking about, it's the idea of member engagement connects to community service, because if we have engaged members, they're going to participate in service projects. As we do more things in service projects, we can connect more people into foundation giving. We can do a bigger public image on the projects that we're doing in our community, and the whole thing comes back to more people who hear about Rotary, the more people who want to be involved in our community service projects and support our foundation. It all increases our public image, which helps us engage more members. So that synergy becomes a very important way that we can connect with our members and make things happen. And we also look at the idea of club flexibility, and the first breakout session is really going to look at flexibility and have you talk about those ideas. So we now know that we can choose how often we meet, as long as in some way we meet twice a month. We have relaxed attendance expectations. And clubs could meet in person, virtually, a combination of the two in a hybrid format. Meeting formats one meeting could be a service project, a social event, or other types of meeting formats. So more flexible approaches. So in your breakouts, I'm going to have you kind of spend about 15 minutes in your breakout room, talking and generating ideas of different meeting formats or innovative meetings that you may have heard from other organizations, for example, a networking meeting or a service activity meeting. Discuss the different formats and consider the needs of various members that might be in your clubs. So members who can't attend in person, members maybe who have young families, can't attend during the workday, members who travel regularly. So how can you as club presidents kind of look at different formats to bring flexibility in our meeting structures? I'm going to stop sharing here, and I am going to set up the breakout rooms. And I think I put too many rooms out there, so let me recreate. I'm going to come down to 5 rooms, assign you automatically, and hopefully you should get something on your screen, and I will look for you to come back in about 15 minutes So is it on your screen? You can select your room and you can go join your breakout.
So
Hey,
Karen,
Cindy, you don't
Hi.
have to go to breakout if you don't want to.
well, I'm going to leave in a few minutes. I've got to go to a Zoom dance recital. We just got the word from the granddaughters. Nothing like planning ahead, but
Yeah. Tell me ahead of time, right?
Yeah. But is there anything that I can be doing to help you in any way? I feel like between the move and all these other things that have been cropping up, I'm sort of out of, I'm sort of AWOL at this point, but
Yeah, I think we're doing all right for now. I mean, these two were the big ones to get over the push. So then we're looking to kind of regroup after the holiday. So I'm just trying to confirm the last, the AG meeting location. So I should have that soon, but that's the last one that I'm kind of looking at.
okay, well, you're welcome to use my husband's conference room. I had sent that information out if you want to. He's willing to be there to open it up, and it would be okay because no one else would be in the office, or very few people would be that day. So
Okay, how many will it hold?
so 30, 35.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I'll look for that. I'll look that back up. Do you remember what time we sent them out? I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be timing this. Do you know about how long they've been in rooms?
Couple minutes max,
Okay.
say, yeah. Oh, should I then go back to Walsh College and tell them that we're not going to use their facility?
For, not
Or-
for,
Pre-pets, we were gonna use Walsh, or we investigated Walsh for pre-pets, not for the HE, but for the pre-pets.
did we find a place out to do pre-pets?
I think we have it, Bala. There he is. Hi,
Hi Cindy, how are you?
I'm okay, hanging in there, still unpacking boxes, but with the idea that, why am I doing this? Because we're gonna be repacking pretty quickly, but we've got to have a few things to live while we're here still. So we were just talking about the facilities, and I haven't gone back to Walsh College to say yay or nay. And now the other thing that happened with the pre-pets was that Jane came back to me and said that they can't accommodate you on the, now I can't remember, whatever date we picked.
Mm-hmm.
She has to do the other. So I sent all of that to you, but what else can I do to help to get this put together?
So what I was thinking is we are getting together on the 15th. That I sent out a note saying we can do it 3 o'clock. Will that work for you, Cindy? Next Wednesday?
Should, yeah.
Okay, so I thought we'll pick it up then and then continue now that we are behind the 2 virtual sessions and look at all the work. Cindy, you helped to support, and Karen is rolling it out. I think the first one, I think I shared with you, the first one was a blast. The second one is going to be even blaster, if that's a word, if there's a word like that. So, and then let's pick it up on if that's okay. And then we'll kind of share our notes and go from there. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. They have Walsh hasn't come back to me.
Okay.
So but at some point, if we're going to use them, there's a contract, all of that has to be signed.
I'm going to be hitting the other breakout rooms now.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to a dance recital, so I'll see you
Okay.
both at 3 on Wednesday. If you need me to
Okay.
do anything in the meantime, just let me know. Okay.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Cindy.
everything.
I haven't done anything. Give me an assignment.
Yeah, I think next Monday when we regroup, that's really, because my semester is winding up. I wanted to get this done, and so I'm kind of put a couple of things on the back burner going, that's down the road, that can wait.
Yeah.
So next Wednesday will give me a little bit of time to kind of think things through, and we can regroup and see exactly where we're at and figure it out. So
Works for me. All right.
Alrighty.
Have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, you're back.
I'm back to head to two. I don't think I can jump from breakout. I have to come back here, land here, and then.
Yep. Hey, welcome back.
Yeah, we're all back.
Yay. First group's back. What room were you?
Room 3.
Room 3? All right.
So
We'll just wait for everyone else to come back. Did you have an okay discussion?
I think we did. I think we met we got to see who's going to be new and shared some ideas on hybrid meetings. I think that was a good discussion topic.
Good.
And I do agree. Like I travel sometimes. I can't make the meetings myself. And so I want to tell you, hi Rick, these hybrid Zoom meetings, you can knock them all you want, but they've really been a godsend. A lot of times not having to drive 50 miles to a meeting or 200 miles. They really have. I think they've kept people together in a very positive way.
Good. Wait for I think there's still a few rooms that are open, or do we have everyone back?
I think we've got everyone back, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay, then perfect. Then just wanted to kind of go around for each of the different rooms and get your top idea, if someone could share that with us, of what you would think of for finding new ways to do Rotary. I guess we can term it in those directions. So from room 1, let's see, Janet, Kathy, Mark, Rick, or Sage, who would like to speak for that group?
How about I start and the others can add?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, we did talk about different types of meetings because some were finding the hours when meetings were currently being held not convenient for everyone. So some were doing meetings that were social in addition to the regular meeting. Some were doing meetings on the same day as an evening meeting so that people could choose which one they wanted to attend to. And in addition to that, some are trying satellite clubs, and there's talk of starting an e-club as well, which I think really is good for getting the youth involved because their hours aren't as flexible as a lot of ours. And they can set up their meetings whenever it's convenient for them. They don't need to have us all there as well. In my presidency, I am going to try and make it so that we take our meetings on the road. We're surrounded by small communities that do not have Rotary clubs. So it would be a good way of both expanding our membership and our branding as well, so that they get to know about us.
Okay, we just Kathy, we're going to do one from each group, and then if we have
Okay.
time, we'll double back.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Those
that's
sound like
fine.
some great things to start. So let's go into room 2. David, Jennifer, Ken, Mahendran, Roma, and Susan. Who'd like to speak? Thank you, David.
You're welcome. So had a lot of great topics. We had a great discussion in group number 2. I'm going to try to do my best to remember everything that was said. If I missed anything, please, someone else from group 2, help me out. But generally, we talked about creativity, open-mindedness, flexibility. It's a good idea to meet people where they are. Survey your members, find out what their ideal experience would be. What things do they want to improve? What would be the best times for them to meet? Because as we've discussed, we all have crazy schedules. Not everyone has a 9 to 5 anymore. Reach out to members if they're not showing up. One of the members of group 2 said that they reached out to someone who they haven't seen in a while, and they were very happy about it and became engaged in the club again. So that's a great success story. And then, one important thing is, and I'll piggyback onto what group number 1 said, engage Rotaractors, early actors and interactors, support them financially through giving them projects. That's our future. That's the people that
That's our future. Yep. Okay, so basically reach out to your members to find out what's important to them, what a concept, yes, and really look for being able to engage some of the youth in bringing them into the meeting. Okay, we're going to move on to room 3. One idea that you think was your highlight, Bob, Lee, Mary, Pam, and C, I'm not going to guess what the first name is. Who's going to speak for that group?
Go ahead, Pam.
Room 3?
Go ahead, Pam.
No, go
Okay,
ahead, Lee.
Pam.
Lee was actually heading the group, so.
Okay, Lee.
I think what we talked about was that Pam's new with the newest club in our district, M36, and they're doing an outstanding job being out in the community, seen in the community, and so she gave us a lot of great ideas how to find community projects. They're doing them at a rate of 1 a month, I think she said, where they try to be out in the community doing something. And
so looking at that idea of community projects as the way of engaging members.
Yes, that way there's the more projects you have like that, there's something there for every member in the club to be interested in at some point in time.
Perfect. Great ideas. Thank you. Room 4, we had Collier, David, Donna, and Keys. Who's going to speak for that group?
David, why don't you share? You had some good ideas.
Okay, one idea.
One idea is
what's your best?
We created, I would say the best thing is we're engaging with other service organizations to leverage things of common interest. And the example I stated is on Monday, we have a new mayor in Pontiac, and we're having that mayor, the Rotary organize a meeting with the other service clubs in the region to meet with the new mayor so the mayor can message to us. And we as collective service clubs, we could state exactly what we're doing for our individual clubs, because Kiwanis, Lions clubs, Optimists all have different verticals than what the Rotary does. And so we could all leverage our strengths without having a duplication of effort. But if there is a duplication of interest, we could showcase to the mayor or our guests what we do in common.
That's fantastic because we have so many different service organizations, but, why can't we partner and do things with other organizations? Great discussion. Thank you, David. Room 5, we had Al, Henny, Randy, and Rose. Who would like to report out?
I'm not going to do it because there's 3 other people who can easily say something about this.
Okay, so one idea from the group. Who'd like to present?
Well, I don't want to volunteer Rose without Rose's permission, but I thought she had the best ideas, honestly. And she if you don't mind, what basically she talked about was shaking up the standard type meetings that you have, and going just to maybe 2 a month, regular meetings, schedule other types of meetings in between with the committees, do a little bit more engagement that way than just meeting every week and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Have a
Okay.
lunch type meeting, meet,
And so-
meeting, just mix it up.
And sometimes it takes a lot of kind of
Courage.
guts, basically, from the from the club president to do that, to change the format. But we always meet every week. We always this, we always that, to really say, how can we look at it and how can we do something different? So some great ideas. Shake it up. Look at different opportunities. Look at different ways to make that happen, because we do know that there are a lot of members who can't attend in person. Again, with those young families, people who travel, all of those other things that happen that make it difficult for members to persist in Rotary. Sometimes we put up the walls that make it difficult for our members to continue to have that great member experience and member engagement with us, because maybe our meeting structure doesn't meet their needs, or we're not offering a variety of opportunities. So these are all really great ideas. And again, looking at that ability for our club presidents, your class of presidents, to sit down and share these kinds of ideas with each other are really what's going to make all of us stronger in our clubs. So really great job with that. Wanted to take a look at another breakout and have a second topic for you. Roma, you're going to have to tell me what you're seeing. Are you getting just the breakout session?
Yes, with BRAKOUT, breakout session 1.
Breakout.
The breakout session.
And I copied it and just did it on the second slide.
Well,
So
I
how
got
about
everybody's
that?
attention, so there you go.
Okay. Darn spell check. When we talk about leading your club and stepping into that role of a president, with influencing change in your club, it's really an important part of your role as club president. So I'm going to put some scenarios into the chat, and I've lost my chat because I'm doing this now. Oh no. I'm just so you know, I'm going to be putting scenarios into the chat. I think there's 26 people, so I might limit it to 4 rooms instead of 5. So whatever room you find yourself in, read the scenario and kind of come up, oh, there's my chat, kind of come up with what you think you can do in order to make this a little bit different. So everyone in the meeting, and I think if I just hit enter, it should go. Maybe not. I love when chats won't go. Oh, there's the first part, and then I'm going to put these other 2 up. How do you think? Do you want fewer people in your rooms, or do you want a couple of extra people in your room? Because I can set them up at 4 or 5 right now.
4.
4 is good.
Okay. 4 people in each room?
4 or 5 max, no more.
Okay. So let me stop sharing this. I'm going to create the breakout rooms, recreate these. I'm going to create 5 breakout rooms, which should give us about 4 people in each one of the rooms. You're automatically been scrambled in there. I'm going to open the room, so you should get that invitation to join a breakout room. 15 minutes, we'll see you back. Hmm. Hey, Bala.
So I figured out instead of coming to the main station, I figured out to jump from breakout room.
Room to room. Good. You know, I was looking down at it. I think there's a move to, or kind of you can move
Join,
yourself
there's a
to.
join button so you can.
Yeah. Join into the other one. So. So you stepped in at everybody. They're doing okay.
Yes. Oh, they are right in the middle of that. I don't think they really want to
come back out.
You gave them such vibration, positive vibes that they want to bring to those topics that it's hard, it's challenging for every group to come out with. But I think this at least will give them a chance to start thinking about what the level of participation should be. And when do you assign those scenarios where they have to prepare over the next several weeks and come to the pets, Karen?
I think we'll do that a little bit later on.
Okay.
This will give them that first sense of working with some scenarios, and then we can give them.
That be group 3 or virtual session 3 or 4?
No, I'm gonna have to look at it.
Okay, good.
I'm coming up on the sending them the 1-minute warning.
Ah.
I'm cutting it a little bit short. I'm cutting a couple of minutes off of it just to bring them back. But again, depending on
and also I was thinking, just a heads up, let's not, and I think that's where you're also going on the registration and COVID and all that, get into that kind of a tangent. So like you were talking about the other day.
I know those Canadians are just like, settle down. We actually, pretty much the committee said it, let's look at some contingencies, but it's way too early to call for anything different than an in-person meeting. And we'll obey all the protocols. We'll do anything that we need to do to make sure everyone's safe. But for now, we're planning for an in-person meeting. I just don't know what else to do.
Well, our CDC and Fauci said, and then even the markets reacted. They said it was a hype last week. Markets reacted. Anyway, we'll talk later.
So, hello, people are starting to come back. This is good.
You beamed us up, Scotty.
Yep.
Oh, no, there's 14 seconds till you actually get forced back here. I can't tell you how many times that it gets that, people have been like mid-sentence and all of a sudden, whoosh, they all go back. You're like, oh.
That happened to me the last go around.
Yeah. So welcome back. I see everyone's bright and smiley faces. The scenarios that I put forward were just ideas of trying to get you to think in terms of, the what ifs. And we can plan for our year and have all of those really great things happening, but there's the what ifs that can kind of throw take us in a whole different direction. Room 1 had scenario 1, and it was talking about opposing board members, where the board members a couple board members aren't really on board with your vision for your year as president. It was Bob, Jennifer, Lee, Randy, and Sage. And who'd like to speak for that group? How did you solve that really quickly? What do you think you can do to persuade them to consider your changes as president?
Go ahead, Randy, tell us.
I think I was just voluntold to share.
There you go.
I thought my thought was, what I've found in very facets of life, whether it be our club or career-wise, is that when you're facing resistance, it's not so much trying to justify what it is that you're trying to do, but have the resistance explain to you what it is, why it is that they want to stay where they are and not want to change.
Good.
By doing that, you're almost getting them to admit that what they're saying isn't, let's say it's declining membership and that's what we're trying to face. They're basically justifying the fact that the change is needed versus just not making the change. So getting feedback from that opposition, rather than just saying, well, this is why we got to change and this is the way we're going to do it.
And that's a great point, Randy. Sometimes we skip over really finding out the why. Why are they opposed? And what's their reasoning behind it? And sometimes you might think it's for one reason and it's a whole other reason that might be really easy to solve. So actually sitting down and having what would be a very hard conversation, but finding out the whys. Good, thank you. Room 2 had a dominant past president. The past president believes he or she is still president in a lot of ways, trying to oppose Will. Collier, Ken, Rose, or Susan, who would like to speak?
I'm speaking for the group.
Okay.
And we, couple of things. First, we were talking about kind of the new president kind of having a private one-on-one with the past president. Certainly, we're not there to embarrass them or to fight in front of the whole club, and acknowledge, and talk to them about what is it that they're, maybe they thought that they didn't get done for their year that they wanted to get, what their goals were, but yet on the other hand, also trying to engage them into, well, we can, what is it that you wanted to do, and how maybe some of those things actually align nicely, and how you can engage them and get them to come to your support. But another, and that we valued their input and their participation and their leadership to help you with your year. And you want them as a teammate, not as an adversary. But also that maybe it would be best to meet with them even before you kind of start your year and talk about how their year went, what got done, what didn't get done, and you discuss what your goals are and do it all ahead of the time. And that maybe, since they felt that they were listened to, you're not going to get that kind of pushback.
That's
when
great.
your time comes.
Yeah.
And I would say that sometimes those conversations are hard to have again, but sitting down and actually talking with and trying to work those things out and bringing those ideas forward. Great solution to that particular scenario. Thank you. Room 3 had scenario number 3, which talked about the idea of social members. Great social members that comes to all of those different kinds of things, but never volunteered to be a club officer, run a committee, chair, or even a club event. How do you engage those that are just there to help do some of the work of Rotary? And that was Al, David. David, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, totally voluntarily.
What's that?
You had your hand up totally voluntarily. Yeah.
There we go.
No, I was volunteered for this position, but so yeah, Josh, the accountant, perhaps accounting is not Josh's passion. So as club president, it's our job to find out what Josh is interested in. We have some good suggestions in our group. Have Josh give a talk, do a survey, see what people's interests are, and then invite Josh to be a participant or a leader in the club. And an invitation goes a long way. It's a lot easier to get people engaged when you ask them to be engaged than waiting for them to volunteer.
Great. And that, again, it's talking about matching someone with their true interests and what they want to be a part of and getting them engaged. And again, that conversation with that particular member. Thank you.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. If I can have 1 minute, because Al was in the group too. He said, ask him as a speaker. So just like he can just like show himself, just like his true colors.
Okay.
And I think that was a really good point there. Yeah.
Great. In room 4, you had scenario 4, and I named this one. We always do it this way when we really are talking about resisting that change. And as club president, you have some new ideas and you're excited to move forward with some innovative things in your club. A few members are resisting change, saying they prefer to keep the status quo. So how do you get those resistant club members to try something new? And that was room 4, David, Donna, Keys, or Rick. Who'd like to report out?
Oh, so we're going to report. So we talked about this as a members having new ideas. So I don't know that we read it right, because I don't think we talked about it being the president's idea. Anyway, we talked about member ideas. Members need their ideas to be known and acknowledged. And so we need to consistently handle them in a vetting process. They're vetted. Big ideas that affect the club or a large portion of the club should be vetted at the board level. And other smaller ideas can be vetted at the appropriate committee level and then brought forward to the board. But if you do it consistently and you handle members' ideas like this across the board, if it's no, you don't adopt their idea, they're all right with that, because you had a process and you were consistent across the board.
Okay. And that's being open to ideas as they come forward, and not discounting any ideas until you really have that opportunity to kind of work through them and bring them through the process. Right. And that's really good, especially when everyone understands what that process is. Thank you. Room 5 had the club with no projects. This is that check writing club. Somewhere along the line, they just kind of sat back, got real comfortable writing checks, but really aren't participating in community projects or being very visible within the community itself. And I had Catherine, Mahendra, Mark, and Roma and Bala were all in that group. Well, who'd like to report back out?
I'm going to report out. We had an engaging conversation and we had a lot of ideas. So here is just one. So here is one. It is encourage the new members to initiate service project. And that helps them to get engaged. Being new, they bring something new to the table, and everybody wants to see them succeed. Everybody wants to see the project succeed. So that brings others in, and so it all becomes a win-win. It's a win-win for the project. It's a win-win for the club, and it's just a great way to get out of the check writing mode.
And thank you, because when we talked about creating that synergy, right? Because the new member feels engaged, the other members are joining in, you're getting some fundraising around it, you're getting very public in the community. That member's very proud of what happened, is telling people how great Rotary is and this opportunity, and that synergy continues to kind of move forward. So really a great way of kind of wrapping that up together. So thank you. You know, hopefully when we look at these scenarios and we see all of these different things that we have, we know that there's going to be challenges in your year as president. You have a plan, everything is great, and you know where you want to go, and there will be bumps along the road. Communication, I think, is the recurring theme in all of the scenarios as we talked about how do we resolve these. It's really having sometimes conversations with difficult members. It's looking at ways of finding out true interests in members. It's, you know, really looking at, you know, how do you inspire new members to participate and to be involved. So all of these things that we're hearing today, and in the same way that you talked about them in your groups, in your year, if you run into one of those bumps in the road, feel free to, you know, pick up the phone and talk to your AG, talk to a couple of the club presidents in your area and say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you think? Because you can see all these great minds are working together, and we really do have ways that we can bring these forward and begin to look at ways of resolving them and moving them forward. So thank you for your time tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Bala, and he's going to wrap up for us, I believe.
Well, what do you all think? I think we need to give a loud round of applause to Karen.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
And while we are all spending an hour or an hour and a half in these sessions, a lot of background work, coordination, planning, and thinking go into designing the content for each of these sessions. And I know Karen has put in hours and hours of her time to bring this together. For us, it looks so simple, but yet I think it's very effective. So these sessions are kind of, as you can see, building up as we go along, so that today we heard Drew not only talk about leading clubs, but also his top 3 priorities as our zone leader and as our representative on the board of directors. And as you all know, and some of you may not be aware, but the board of directors is the governing body for our great organization, Rotary International. They meet at least once a quarter in Evanston, which is where the headquarters is, Rotary One Center, just outside of northwest side of Chicago. And then there's the board of trustees for the Rotary Foundation. But let's keep that for next week, because next week we're going to talk about foundation and the board of trustees. One of them will be coming and talking to us on that. So I won't bother you with all the details there. But coming back to Drew, his 3 priorities, he not only talked about membership retention and how good of a job we do bringing on new members. And again, Roma is going to go into a deeper dive on that when she talks about the whole aspect of membership retention and bringing on new members in the virtual session number 4 on January the 12th. But he also talked about the other 2 priorities: branding, our presence in the marketplace. All of us recognize the Apple icon, Starbucks, the big arch, all and so on and so forth. So how do we continue to position ourselves similar fashion? And then he also talked about the innovation aspect. So if there's one thing we want to leave tonight, and I'm sure you are not all hanging out here to hear me speak, but if there's one thing we can learn from today's session is the interaction we've had with other president-elects, other AGs. So if we write down 2 or 3 things that we learned from today. And I have to tell you, those will come in handy, not only as we go through and end up in pets, but also as we start our new year. The other aspect is you all be networking here on a virtual basis, but when we come to Kalamazoo, you will not only be networking with the other president-elects for our district, but there'll be a total of almost 300 president-elects. So reaching out to a lot of those members, and there'll also be sessions combined with different districts. So my key takeaway from tonight's session is let's make every minute of this worthwhile for us. Remember, Drew talked about having fun, and I talked about happiness. So let's combine the fun and happiness and make it our worthwhile. And also thank you all for your great service as you're putting a lot of hours here, and also for our upcoming planning year. Remember, there are great district resources, there are great zone resources. So nobody should think they are in this by themselves. So let's make it a fun evening, and thank you all again tonight. Back to Karen.
Thank you so much. So next week, as Bala said, we're going to look at the Rotary Foundation, running your club. We're going to give you some great tools. We're going to go over a lot of the information that you need to kind of get those club meetings and your committees and everything set. Be willing to stick around for a little bit if anyone wants to stay online. If you had any questions or thoughts or comments, be happy to go over those with you. But outside of that, have a wonderful evening. Again, we're breaking. We'll be back after the new year. So happy holidays to everyone. Wishing you all the best with your family. Enjoy your time, and we'll see you in the new year.
And again, happy holidays. Have fun. Enjoy the parties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.